spot, we're having a look at the McFarlane Toys Spawn, the Classic Comic Covers, Series 24. For those that have ever actually collected these, and Spawn really doesn't collect a lot of Spawn figures, but the one thing I always wanted to get really into, and sadly, I took too long getting into it, was the comic covers. You're not really getting super articulated figures, oh no, but you're getting these fantastic looking art pieces. Now, sadly, I say I got into this a little late because a lot of these, if you were to go onto aftermarket, I say like eBay and stuff like that, these are super expensive. Mucho dinero. It only so happened that I was actually at a comic book store, a local comic book store I was going through, and comic book stores, for anybody that asks, for anybody that really wants my opinion on anything, comic book stores, if you can go to some of the little small comic book stores in your town or maybe in a nearby town, go into them and you'll probably find little gems like this. This is exactly what happened to me. I went in looking for, I was just going to pick up a comic book, and the guy here had a whole bunch of different figures in the back, and lo and behold, the Classic Comic Covers Series 24 Spawn was there. I think I paid about $19 for it, which is a far cry from what they cost on eBay, and I immediately grabbed them. So I can't wait to get this opened up, because this particular one is one of my favorites and one of the reasons why I wanted to pick him up. On the side of the package, there is a picture of Series 24, the Classic Comic Covers Spawn. And on the back, other figures available. Now this particular one, this is issue, I guess, I-43, or issue 43 Spawn. Also down below, there's a picture of what it was taken from. It says our 24th series of Spawn action figures takes a more traditional route and focuses on interpreting various comic book covers from the rich gallery of Spawn comic artwork. Also, the other ones available are Spawn issue 39, which I don't know if you remember, but Spot did do for Christmas time. There's also issue 109. There's issue 98 down here. There's issue 88, or actually this is issue Spawn HS issue 1 right here, issue 88, issue 64, which this guy, I remember him in stores. Oh, I remember you so very well, sir. Nobody wanted to buy him. Nobody. And then also there was the Spawn the Dark Ages issue 23. For everything Spawn, and certainly so much more, you can head over to www.spawn.com. Speaking of Spawn, Spot's going to take a break and get this open up. When we come back, more Spawn heading your way. We're going to have a better look at Series 24 Classic Comic Covers Spawn. Don't go anywhere, guys. There's more heading your way. Stay tuned. So when you get him out of packaging, there are a lot of pieces that you kind of have to put together. He doesn't really come out of packaging complete. Does require some assembly. Now, sadly, I don't think he actually comes with any sort of instruction. You have to kind of look at the pieces and gauge how they're going to be put together. But before we put them together, let's just kind of go through everything that you'll get inside. Get yourself a backboard with the bat motif here. You'll get yourself a display stand. Now this stand spins, or at least it should spin. The other one spun. It doesn't seem to spin very well. Oh, there we go. It doesn't seem to spin very well, I would say. But now this will peg into, I think this actually pegs into the back. This folds, and then this will be pegged into the back. There's a couple of pegs. Where are you? A couple of pegs. There's 3 pegs that will get pegged into this. You also get yourself a metal rod. You get yourself a clear rod. You get yourself a clip. Not quite sure how that's going to come into play just yet. You get yourself some bats, 2 different kinds of bats, or 2 bats, 2 groups of bats, like so. And you know what, actually, before we put it together, just in case I can't get a chance to show you guys a better look, there's the bats right there. And it looks like they kind of link themselves to one another. Of course, we'll figure this out. Well, don't worry, I'll figure it out. But you get 2 groupings of bats. Also, for your consideration, you get yourself, well, of course, Spawn. You get Spawn with his cape. Partial cape, I might add. some nice metal chains. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, I know that made no sense, you also get yourself some cape pieces. One long piece of cape, those will go to the back. Those will be really on the sides, I'm thinking. And then this piece right here as well. So really there is, again, a lot to put together. Don't worry, Spot's going to take a break, and so you guys aren't having to sit and watch this. But I'm going to put it together, and we'll get something that looks like this. Well, actually not quite like this. First of all, I just want to show you, in case if somebody was wondering what that clip was for, the two cape pieces you put together, which I'll show you the finished piece in a second, but there's two notches on the inside. Now before you put the main cape, that's going to go over to the top there, this clip actually puts these two pieces together. And I thought to myself initially, when I was putting the two halves of the cape together, I thought, why couldn't they make it some way to keep these halves together so that they're not going to come loose? And that, my friend, is exactly what this clip is for. So having said that, you'll get something like this. And wow, you gotta admit, that looks incredible for a display piece. Now again, with the classic comic covers, you're not necessarily going to be getting them necessarily for action figure, where you're going to be posing in them and whatnot. What you're getting these things for is definitely display pieces. And perhaps you may not be able to gauge, yes, how much of a reach that cape goes, but it is large, super large, and extremely detailed. This is, again, one of the reasons why I wanted to get this particular piece over some of the other classic comic covers, just because the cape, it looks to me like some of the maquettes that you would be able to buy in comic book stores. And maquette basically is a statued piece that is pre-posed, and usually it's got some dynamic flow to it. But this looks like something you would get as a maquette. Now granted, at the time that these were available, this particular piece was really only about $9, $10. It wasn't a super expensive piece, but collectors now are starting to quickly find that pieces like these are very hard to come by, and the demand for them is quite high indeed. As it comes for your articulation, again, you're not going to get so much really with Spawn. Like the majority of the figure, there is some like articulation in the hands, for example. There's like a little bit in the head, but again, like you're really not going to be able to move too much of it because you don't want to disrupt the flow that's happening currently with the figure. And again, Spot really doesn't even want to use the term figure, as this is more so a display piece of art than an actual figure. You can see also down below there are the bats. Let's bring the camera down right there. There's the bats. And it's your... Specifically, it's up to you how you would want to display the bats. They're basically just on a clear rod. Once again, no instructions given whatsoever. So there are loops right on the undersides of the grouped bats. And then there's two ends. I just put these groupings of bats in the front and two in the back. And with the display board, being that, again, it's all just holes, you can really just place the bats any which way that you want. You know, you can have them like this and have it look more as if the bats are flying towards the screen, towards your view, I should say, and then you've got Spawn in the background there. The same thing really can be said for Spawn. Spawn is on, let me just take this off for a sec. Spawn is on a pole, a metal pole, and it's not the easiest to get in the display stand. Hey, look, I got Spawn Lollipop. It's not the easiest to get in this display stand because the holes themselves are just about the same size as the metal pole here. So I mean, it's really up to you where you want to put it. You know, you can put him further back if you want to, but you really have to kind of wiggle him in there so he doesn't. As you can see, he kind of tilts to the side. Kind of just do a little bit of adjusting, but again, it's just such a gorgeous piece. It rivals really some of the stuff that you would find nowadays for anywhere from $50 to $100. I mean, again, it's such a beautiful piece, and I was extremely lucky that I was able to find it at my local comic book store. As for detailing and as for paint, the paint, very nice on the piece. Bring the camera in, you can see all the painting Not only are you getting one singular color of paint, which Spawn really is just a black costumed figure, but he's got all the additional blue wash in the black aspects of his body, especially when you start getting to his torso. Just bring the camera up here. When you start getting to his torso, again, he's got that blue wash melded in along and blended in with a lot of the muscular details of the figure. Now, while the areas of his arm are sculpted in chains, you can see that he still has real metal chains, which is one thing that McFarlane Toys was really big on was giving us figures, especially their Spawn figures, with real chains. And that's one thing to this day always still stands out to me as a level of detail that they put in that a lot of companies really wouldn't have done. He's also got the chains around his waist, where his main skull is, right down there, as you can see. But again, like just the level of paint is really what impresses me the most in this piece. Behind Spawn, not only are you just getting his red cape, but he's got these dark shadowed points underneath that really brings the figure forward and almost recesses the cape. Also as well, some of the details too, you get individual rips and folds in the cape. The cape is it's definitely not a smooth, clean cape. It's tattered, it's ripped, it looks like a bunch of rags, really. And again, work so perfectly with Spawn. I mean, the cape to me kind of looks like a leaf, like an old leaf you would find on the ground. I don't know if Spawn really would like me calling his cape a leaf, but hopefully you guys get the idea. But it's phenomenal to think how far that cape. Now, if you remember the packaging was a certain size. It's remarkable how just putting pieces together, how much of a cape span we got from putting those three pieces together. It's such an impressive piece. The only downside, once again, the spot's already indicated, with being these now completely long since past in retail market. Your best bet to get something like this now is through third party, i.e. eBay, and you again probably will pay a lot for these. I think these on eBay range anywhere from, I'm ballparking it here, but they range anywhere from maybe about $50 to $80 depending on, who's selling it and, how many people are interested in picking them up at the time. Maybe you might be able to get them for a little bit cheaper, but I would say if you can find him for definitely a good price, he is well worth picking up. Again, not so much really for something you're going to be playing with, not really something that you're going to be posing, but certainly as a display piece. Display piece is where this guy has it at. The classic comic covers, what was it, Series 24, issue 43. This particular Spawn, I'm going to give him a 9. Thanks for watching, as you always do, guys, and certainly stay tuned. Spot's going to have a lot more toy spots heading your way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.